Justin Brent has a mission to help people understand the benefits of microdosing with psilocybin. Today I'm talking with Justin about all the different benefits that we've found with psilocybin microdosing, but mainly to talk about Justin's company, Redwood Mycro, and the compound that he has found. So Justin mixes psilocybin mushrooms with, I think, about 8 different superfoods and mushrooms to create this beautiful compound that has been well adopted in Mexico and has finding benefits that we couldn't even imagine. I'm really excited to talk with Justin about his journey with microdosing, with plant medicines, and with this passion that he has. Sometimes we need a weird friend to talk about this kind of esoteric stuff with, so we're not seeming so weird and we don't feel so weird. Well, today, Justin and I are your weird friends. Hope you enjoy the conversation. But first, a message from our sponsor. Our healing journey can be difficult and might feel lonely at times. That's why I love sound baths. When we can get together in a community, we intrinsically support and feel supported by others. And that combined energy can help us go deeper into our own healing journeys. And all you have to do is just lay there for 1 hour and listen to beautiful healing sounds. I'm a sound healing practitioner, and I hold sound baths on a regular basis in the greater Seattle area. You can find my next sound baths on my website at adamrealhealing.com. That's Adam, A-D-A-M, Real, R-I-E-H-L, Healing, Healing.com. AdamRealHealing.com. Your healing is worth your time. And now an uninterrupted podcast with Justin Brent. All right, welcome back. Today I'm talking with Justin Brent. Justin is a friend that was introduced to me by a past guest, Heather Henninger. Today we're going to talk about microdosing, different styles of microdosing, mainly talking about psilocybin microdosing, but we'll probably venture into a couple different opportunities of different compounds. Justin is a psychological background, but he's got a website, Redwood Mycro, and micro is spelled with a Y, not an I. And Justin's on this beautiful mission to share information about the benefits of microdosing. But also Justin has come up with his own compound of microdosing that combines psilocybin mushrooms with different other types of mushrooms, non-hallucinogenics. And so and has had a lot of success with this product. He's in Mexico right now, and he's been able to get this product into 8 doctors' offices, which is phenomenal. That doctors are actually suggesting and referring this to their clients now in Mexico. And personally, I've talked about this in my podcast before, but I've been microdosing for a number of years, both micro and macro. And the microdosing for me has been one of those things that just as soon as I started utilizing this compound, my body reacted in a very positive way. And since then, it's like, hey, man, do you know about microdosing? Let's talk about it. Hey, do you know about microdosing? I'm one of the biggest advocates for it because, when the things that really help us and the things that save our lives, we're going to become the biggest advocates for that. So like for me, meditation, yoga, and plant medicines. If you want some kind of solution for me, I'm going to probably direct you to one of those, So Justin, I'm so excited to chat with you about this. Thank you so much for your time and coming to us from Tulum, Mexico. I'm getting a lot of people from Tulum. I think that's the sign that I need to be in Tulum.
Yeah, man. Yeah, brother. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for the intro, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you as well. And yeah, Tulum is obviously become a spot of a lot of talk in the last years. For me, I ended up here after a month-long vacation that I came here and realized and kind of transformed my life and brought it down here from this vacation. But it started with this microdosing business, the psilocybin microdosing business, and basically it's something I started a couple years ago, and it's Redwood Mycro is the name, and it's essentially it's 2 things. It's mainly a mission. It's a movement. Redwood Mycro is an actual movement of knowledge and information, and my mission is basically to spread the knowledge and the information that comes from mushrooms, the wonderful world of mushrooms, and not even just talking about psilocybin, but just talking about mushrooms in general. And obviously psilocybin has kind of become the star of the show because of what's going on in the world and how it's opening up, and people are truly realizing and seeing the power of psilocybin. And yeah, like you said, if someone comes to me with a problem, it's going to be plant medicine, yoga, or meditation. it sounds like a broken record, but it's real. And, at some point, I'm truly believing that everything can be cured by one of those three things or a combination of them, in some form.
Yeah.
And, it's really everyone's own personal journey. It's like you said, the journey to your own personal soul.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of this medicine is that it is your personal journey. It's
Yeah.
curated to you, your psyche, the what you're trying to accomplish. And so, like with I've utilized different hallucinogenic compounds for my entire life. A lot of those years were very irresponsibly in my younger years.
Yeah.
But I think we're drawn to these medicines in certain kind of ways, even if we're not fully understanding the impact of these medicines. And
Exactly.
so set and setting is definitely one of those big things. Even with microdosing, the setting your intention with what you're,
Microdosing.
yeah, with micro, yeah, trying to set your intention. What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to utilize this
Exactly.
medicine for? And when we have intentions and we respect the medicine, there's so much more that this medicine can offer us than I'm just gonna
100%.
take a handful of mushrooms and look at the wall for an hour.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I kind of, I put more emphasis, when I have consultations or I'm meeting with a new potential client or customer. And when you talk to a lot of people about microdosing, like, oh yeah, I tried microdosing. I tried it. Yeah, I took a little bit, went on a hike and it was great. And you get a lot of responses of that where
Mm,
people are, telling you, oh, they did it. And like you said, it is a lot about intention. And even with microdosing, maybe even more so with microdosing, because when you talk about microdosing, you're talking about a regular intake of a medicine. So this isn't just a one-off, you go have your time with a medicine and leave. You're essentially cultivating a relationship with this medicine that's
mm,
on a regular basis, a deep connection with this medicine that's not just a one time and leave, but you're bringing this medicine into your life on a regular basis. You're developing a much more intimate and deep relationship where you might not even realize it, but you're opening yourself up and showing yourself in a way that you've not done.
mm.
And these medicines, they can sense that, and I think with mushrooms specifically, as we know, mushrooms are extremely intelligent, have extremely intelligent properties and communication properties, and they're actually able to communicate with one another. And that's one of the reasons that I think, when you're microdosing and you bring this commitment and intention to, I want to develop a relationship with this medicine to truly heal,
Hmm.
that those medicines know and they can feel it and sense it. And basically you've done half of the work at that point by committing to that, and then allowing the medicines to then go in. And like you said, that's when your personal journey begins, is when you actually start to take the medicine, because the medicine can search and find things that you don't even realize is happening in your body or your mind. And that's when we're really getting the healing. It's
Oh yeah.
incredible.
Yeah,
It's
that's
incredible.
that. The messages and the gifts that I've gotten from the mushrooms is since I started regularly using these.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it is a relationship and it's a mutual
Yeah.
respect, and that's so when you set that intention and you choose to take this medicine into you and you have the intention that the mushroom hears that and it's like cool, okay,
Yeah.
we're working towards this, right? This is a
Exactly.
goal we're working towards. Let's figure out how to do this.
100%.
So why don't we start off by just actually defining microdosing, right? So in
Yeah.
case people don't understand what
Perfect.
microdosing is.
Yeah. That's a great. So basically, microdosing is I guess the regular intake, and I say regular, this isn't daily, but the regular intake of a psychedelic plant medicine, psychedelic medicine. Mainly psilocybin and LSD are kind of the big that have been studied. There are definitely studies with ayahuasca
Hmm.
and with, I know people here in Mexico that microdose bufo,
Really?
5-MT,
Wow.
that have started to, on a super, I'm not sure exactly how that works. I think it starts to get a little bit faded when you start to get into something that's hard, because microdosing really comes down to dosage. So if
Right.
you're not able to really properly measure the dose, it kind of starts to get away from the microdosing. And that's another thing that I tell people, that microdosing is a specific dose, and it's got to be, below threshold. It's actually 10% of threshold dose for any substance is technically a microdose.
Okay.
Threshold dose is anywhere from 0.75 from psilocybin. Threshold dose is anywhere from 0.75 grams or 750 milligrams to 1.5 grams.
Okay.
So that would mean basically that any given person at 0.75 grams, that's threshold. That's when you're going to feel the physical effects of this substance, no matter your weight, your diet, whatever, that's the kind of minimum threshold. So then you look at 10% of that, that's 75 or 0.075 grams, which is, generally the low end of a microdose, 75 milligrams, 50 milligrams, somewhere in there, up to 150. You do see 200 milligram microdosing. I think it depends on the strain of mushrooms. I personally believe if you've got a strong genetic and a properly cultivated psilocybin mushroom, that 100 milligrams is a very sufficient microdose, and you shouldn't need much more. You don't want to feel it. The idea is you're taking a high quality medicine, but you're not feeling it. And I say you don't want to feel it. I don't want to say you don't feel anything at all, because that kind of also gives people a little bit of a mystery, because there is a feeling, but it's not you don't feel high. The idea is you're taking this for focus, for your energy, for presence. So basically, to get all of the benefits that someone is going to try to get out of one of these deep ceremonies or deep journeys, but without having to necessarily go and commit to, a weekend of, having someone come and watch your pets or go on a trip, spend a ton of money to go on a trip and meet someone that can provide us with this medicine in its true setting. Microdosing is allowing functional humans in this day and age to be able to have a relationship with this plant medicine and feel the support of this medicine without having to leave their day to day. And, we can't all leave to go into the jungle and do these ceremonies, and some people can't at all.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they don't still very much need the help of this medicine and desire it, but yeah, it's we've got to make it a little more accessible, and also take the fear.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize also the dosage size, and that's so important. I have a friend of mine. So, I have a friend of mine that was microdosing, about a year or so ago. And when I was talking to her about it, I was like, well, what dosage do you have? And she's like, well, I don't know. I just break off a little part of a cap and I eat that. And I'm like, okay. And that's, I hear that from a lot of people. And then, but one time, not too long after we had that conversation, I got a phone call from this person, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? She's like, Adam, something's wrong. I've been standing in the aisle of Fred Meyer for 20 minutes and I can't decide between ultra soft or ultra strong toilet paper. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, girl, you need to stop just breaking off caps. Weigh out what you're microdosing. You've taken too much. Just put them both down and walk away. Go home and we'll figure this out. So, with caps, there's densities, there's all this stuff, stuff that goes into it that, if you have the ability to weigh it out or get something that's already currently weighed out for you, like one of the compounds you have, then it's a more exact experiment, right? Because then it's an actual medicine. If we're just kind of, guessing and checking, it's like, oh, that feels like about right today, then we're not really getting that consistency of that dosage.
And that's huge, because all of the studies, all of the millions, the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been dumped into this psilocybin studies now through Johns Hopkins, through, the London United College, there's a handful of huge studies. They're not studies based off of just random amounts. These are very, very specific dosages, and we can't progress if we don't have set amounts, and we can't say this is the dose for this and this is the dose for that.
Right.
And it is hugely important that the dose is consistent and regular, and so dose, and then kind of that can segue into the protocols.
Right.
Which is a whole other thing that people may be taking the right dose, but it's like, oh yeah, I'll take one when I have, every other Saturday when I've got, some time to go on a hike. And that's another kind of common misconception with microdosing, is that it's like a mini high and a mini trip, and that you've got to still need your time to go and, have your ceremony. It's just going to be lighter. And that's not the idea. The idea of microdosing is you take it and you go about your normal day.
Right.
You go to work, you eat, you have your meetings, you meet with your boss, you have your stressful moments, you have your intense anxiety, you have all of your feelings, but you've got this support of this medicine that's able to help you work through these feelings. And that's when you can see the benefits. You're not going to see the benefits if you're out on a beautiful hike. You're not going to probably run into a situation where you feel anxiety or impatient or anger or rage, and you're able to control it. After microdosing for 2 to 3 weeks is generally when people start to realize that they react different, and they realize that something's benefiting them because they go into a situation that normally drives them crazy or makes, stresses them out, makes them scream.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, whoa, I'm okay right now. I'm calm. I feel okay about this situation. And normally every time I walk into this person's office or this person's room, I'm immediately stressed out. But right now I'm controlling these feelings. And that's when, people realize it. And that's why it's so important to emphasize dose and protocol, because that's where the studies are. And that's where the benefits truly come.
Yeah, definitely. And there, what were you were just saying about, being the witness of your emotions instead of being caught up in them. I think that was one of the first things that both breath work and microdosing really helped me with. For a long time, actually, even before I found microdosing, breath work was one of the first things I found that really helped me find peace. And but it was when I used to be a restaurant manager, so dealing with stressful situations all the time, and I remember it was about 2 years into my, maybe about a year into my yoga journey, and I was getting yelled at by a guest. There was something wrong with their food, blah blah blah. Pretty typical stuff. And instead of my anxiety rising, and I could feel my heartbeat. Typically, I felt like I was present because I was breathing and I was with them and I was present with them. And having these moments now, experiencing microdosing. Even though like I'm an energy worker, I do sound baths, I live in a very peaceful world for all intents and purposes, but there's still triggers, there's still stressors around us. I have 2 kids, I have a fiance, we're still householders in this world. And so, but feeling those moments when I would typically fall into my anxiousness or my depressiveness or my overthinking, witnessing those emotions and being able to look at it and be like, oh, I see what you're trying to come up. Okay, look, cool. Now we're going to breathe through this. We're going to get back into a place where we're both proud of being. And I do contribute that kind of clarity of mind and that focus to microdosing and to being able to be the witness instead of being caught up in all that shit. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about this. And in the beginning, it was kind of confusing because I'm like, why am I thinking about anxiety? Why am I not just anxious? And then I realized it was finally like, oh, because I have the ability to either bring on that anxiety, because sometimes it works, sometimes it needs to be there, but I also have the ability to be like, no, I think we got this.
Yeah. And it's always going to be there. And that's the other thing too. And that's what I try to tell people is like these medicines, in microdose, they don't remove this stuff out of your life. If you can show me a pill that completely takes away all stress and anxiety in this life, I'll sell my soul for that. That's the one right there. I've come up with a blend that can do some serious work on controlling, but yeah, we're still going to feel these things and we're still going to see them and they're still going to happen. That's never going to stop. But yeah, like you said, we're able to control it. And it's almost like you're like looking for the feeling of anxiety because you're used to it, or you're looking for that feeling of like rage because you're used to it, but you don't feel it. You actually feel calm. And at first it's confusing. You're like, wait, this is really strange. It almost seems too good to be true. It's like, this is wild, because you really are able to see your emotions. And that's the first thing that people come to me, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks into their treatment is, it's incredible. I didn't even know that it was doing anything. I didn't think it was really working, but I stuck with the protocols, and I, all of a sudden something clicked, and I was in a grocery store, and something happened normally would absolutely drive me nuts, and I completely was at ease, or like I didn't flip out on my mom when she called, just kind of subtle things, but they're these subtle things that are coming up in our day to day. And it's this learned pattern, learned behavior patterns where we're reacting not because of how we're feeling in that moment, but we're reacting because of how we've reacted to something like that for the last 30, 40, 50 years, however many years. So it's like we're so accustomed to these reactions that there's no way we can change it if we're not able to step away from it and see what's happening. And
Right.
And, for me, microdosing, psilocybin has been a huge tool for that. And then it's obviously led to a ton more routes and roads of healing. And that's something that is just another benefit of microdosing, is that it generally can segue into another form of healing. It'll open up a new practice. It'll allow you to get more into something you maybe started or you weren't able to focus too much into, and it just goes from there.
Yeah. Well, how did you, you've obviously got a lot of experience with microdosing.
Yeah.
When did you choose to step away from just the psilocybin and start to look at different compounds to create what you've now created?
So, I mean, it was a whole process. It started, the whole thing started from basically me after about 10 years of, Western medicine and pharmaceuticals, and for depression, anxiety, the kind of the standard list in my late teens, all through my 20s. And I was tired of it all. I needed to, I wanted a natural route. Started with the psilocybin. And for me, the psilocybin, I immediately, like you said earlier, it was an immediate feeling of, wow, this is very much doing something profound. I'm healing, I'm seeing something, but it was still missing something. I knew that there could be something more, so I was being kind of the alchemist that I am. And, having cultivated and been in cannabis for years, I basically just said, all right, I'm going to start growing my own mushrooms now. And I'm going to start blending other mushrooms, other supplements, other vitamins, because I still, no matter what dosage of psilocybin I tried to find microdosing, I still got a feeling of anxiety when the medicine kind of went into my system. And coming from someone that I have an anxious mindset anyways, I've had anxiety, I've dealt with this. For me, that was basically the main reason I was microdosing in the first place, which a lot of people are. So I didn't want that feeling of anxiety at all,
Right.
because I wanted to get rid of it completely. So I didn't see how it would serve me to feel a little bit more, it was kind of this, oh, you're going to feel anxiety as it's kind of working, but that's the medicine working. And I'm not saying that that's not true, but I personally started experimenting, all for me and my own personal journey, and like for something that worked for me. So I was basically looking for a personal blend of mushrooms that allowed me to get all of the positive benefits that I was getting from the psilocybin. So the focus, the energy, the good mood, the wanting to learn, the wanting to go outside, the clarity of thoughts, but with zero anxiety. And I didn't want any feeling of getting hit with the medicine. The feeling of, whoa, I need to like go sit down there. It just hit me or something. I wanted this to be as smooth of a compound as possible. So I started doing research, and I started watching documentaries and studying mushrooms and finding the benefits of mushrooms, and that there's actually mixes and there's blends of mushrooms that, for example, if you take reishi by itself, you're going to get a lot of benefits from this reishi. 100%. You're going to get the anti-immune, you're going to get the heart benefits, you're going to get the mental benefits. But if you then add lion's mane to this reishi, the lion's mane is actually going to pull out more benefits of the reishi. So you're stacking mushrooms. So each mushroom that you're then kind of putting on top of another one has the power of pulling more benefits out of the mushroom below. So you essentially, by combining, this blend of, and it's a pretty standard blend of mushrooms, this kind of 7-8 major reishi, lion's mane, turkey tail, maitake, royal sun, and shiitake.
Okay.
And basically by blending those, at that point, you're getting 100% of the benefits of all of this different mushrooms, which you can't get by just taking each individual mushroom, and you're just adding more communication. So for example, if you have a problem in your foot, you have an infection that's starting in your foot and you don't even have any idea it's there. These mushrooms are able to actually detect and send signals to heal it before you even know that you have an issue to be healed. So
Wow.
so getting into, things, I guess, for further talk, but that's kind of how they work to even defeat things like cancer, where mushrooms are able to detect things that we aren't even able to detect with the highest technology that we have in hospitals.
Yeah.
That mushrooms are able to detect things even before these machines.
And isn't that characteristic with mushrooms in general growing in the wild? Like they have that mycelium
100%.
web and they,
100%.
yeah, and it's just, I'm just learning more about mycelium and all this different, the ways that the forest floors communicate.
Oh,
And,
it's incredible.
just hearing how mushrooms kind of like can tell if a tree has too much sugar and it needs some of that
Yeah.
taken away, or it doesn't have enough sugar and then it can give it more. And it's kind of like that intermediate of like, hey, how you feeling? Okay, cool. You need some stuff? Cool. We'll get you some stuff, And it's like it's so damn smart, And
Without you
so
having to tell it, it
yes.
knows what you want. That's the beauty. Like you said, it's so smart.
Hmm.
And like you said, yeah, in the forest, not only can it send signals, hey, this tree needs more sugar, but it can actually sense a type of sickness in, let's say there's a specific species of pine tree.
Mm-hmm.
It's developing some kind of a sickness within. That mushroom that's at let's say the mycelium network that's at the base and in the roots of that tree that has been detected as sick can send signals to all of the species of this pine tree to say, hey, we need to do something before you get the same sickness that this tree and all of these in this zone have gotten. So now we're going to pump you full of, A, B, and C nutrients to prevent you from getting what we've already seen is happening over there.
Wow.
And it works the same in your body, and in your body, you have something over here. It's sending signals to heal it before we even know, and before it gets to the point where it's actually damaging before it gets there. So we're preventing things from happening before they're even happening by putting the mushrooms into our body and sending these kind of, seekers, signals, trackers, and scanners. They basically are scanning our body and sending signals to other parts that can help it.
Wow. That's I'm in awe at the
It's
brilliance.
incredible.
Yeah, just, and I think that's one of the things with plant medicines in general. There are energetic medicines out there like ketamine and
Yeah.
MDMA and things like that. But plant medicines, they're natural. They grow from the earth, and we're nature. As much as we want to separate ourselves from nature, we are nature. We are animals. We're part of this world. And so when we can find these medicines that are grown in this world that work with our compounds, and Jesus Christ, like it's like that. That medicine is put there, and almost like the mushrooms are making this sacrifice to help humanity finally recognize its full potential, not being
Yeah.
this capitalistic economic growth kind of thing, but this getting as us back into nature, getting us back into understanding that like you are me, I am you, right? I'm everybody in this world, you know? And so when we can see everybody as ourselves, then that empathy and that compassion can grow. And then we don't want to wrong somebody just so we can get ahead. We're all trying to play this infinite game and, you know, maybe, share the pie a little bit more instead of this finite game where, you know, if I win, that means somebody else has to lose. You know, if I have more of the pie, then somebody doesn't get as much pie, you know? And so when I, you know, that's one of the beautiful benefits that I've seen from this is that it's allowed me to really step into my humanity and understand there's a place, there's a balance between divinity, humanity, and altruism, and just finding that beautiful compound or the combination between all of that and living your life in the most balanced way that you can find, instead of just like everything's for me and my family and everybody else get fucked, you know. It's like we need to have, you know, have that mutuality of like, hey, we're all in this together, you know.
Oh, you know, it's funny you say that about the whole "this is me and my family," and it's real. You know, you see it so much with people with like their property. You know, if you step foot on someone's grass, it's like that's my grass. This is my property, and it's like, you know, it's this whole, it's ours, right? It's all the same. Yeah, you bought it, but you know, it's just this whole personal property, mine. This mentality of, you know, more, mine.
Yep.
Take. And the U.S. is probably the most guilty of this, you know, and we need some of it, but at the same time, yeah, I think, you know, like I said, I believe nature is perfect, you know, as it is. Obviously, we're doing things to make it not perfect, but if you were to take everything away and leave nature as it is, it by definition it's perfect, because it is what it is. It was made, it grew there, it sprouted there, that's there, that mountain is there, that lake is there, like it's all there. No one put it there, it's all there. So by definition it has to be perfect. And the way that I look at it is, if we're able to find compounds from this perfect nature that's been provided to us, and yeah, not everything is going to work for everyone, and you know, people are going to try this substance and yeah, maybe their body, it doesn't work, but this works great, right? You know, for some people psilocybin microdosing isn't for them. They prefer LSD microdosing, or, you know, some people prefer ayahuasca, some people prefer DMT. You know, it's personal, but the whole idea behind it, and everyone that's seeking this path, everyone's seeking the same thing. Everyone's looking to feel good and feel happy within and from within, and feel good about themselves and their mission and their journey, and be happy and content and share love. And the way I look at it is, you know, people can say what they're doing it for, but if you're on this plant medicine journey and you're seeking these, you know, sometimes pretty crazy medicines that, you know, we seek and do some crazy things to our body, the intention, it has to be real, it has to be there, you know, and if it is, how can it not work? I mean, you know, the commitment that we're putting, and I even truly believe that, you know, being on a path like this, you know, it's a spiritual plant medicine yogi path, if you will, we're doing a lot of healing for other people, you know what I mean? And it's like, because yeah, we're not going to get the whole world to jump on board meditation and yoga and plant medicine, of course.
Yeah.
But if we could get a percentage, you know, that would be enough to make an impact, you know. And
there's actually a rule wrapped up in quantum entanglement. You know, so quantum entanglement roughly says, like, you know, so some of the tests from quantum entanglement is like, if you take a proton, just like a single proton particle, and split it up, and one, let's say, goes to Maine and one goes to Florida, if something happens to the one that goes to Maine, it's going to happen to the same thing in Florida, or and vice versa, right? And so, along with that rule and that law, I don't remember exactly where it fits in, but there's this rule that basically states, paraphrasing, but it's like, if you have a mass, right, and you have this big mass, and 1% of that mass starts to move in another direction, just 1%, all we need, and that's enough to take the rest of the mass to start moving in that
I've
direction as
heard.
well, right? And
I've
so
heard.
1% of 7.5 billion people, that's not a lot of people, right? And so we can get 1% of that mass of people starting to change their consciousness and starting to understand this new way of thinking, and slowly the rest of that mass will start to understand and adapt to it, and start to move in that direction. And I think there's a beauty in that. There's so much beauty in that because it's a small percentage, right? It just takes the consciousness, the knowledge of. And then there's one more thing I wanted to mention. There's I'm not sure if you heard this name, but Dr. Zach Bush. He's a great human being. He's been getting out on the circuit a lot, just preaching his word. He's got a great message. He's an oncologist,
Okay.
works with a bunch of different like plant medicines, cancer research. He does delivery, baby delivery, all kinds of stuff. But just the way that he approaches life is really interesting. But he was talking about the individual property of a human being and how it's a metaphor, but metaphorically speaking, you can say the first case of cancer was noticed when the first person put a fence around their place and said, "This is mine." So just like you were saying earlier, get off my
Yeah.
property. This is my property. Cancer is the idea that I'm the only cell left, right? All the other cells stop talking to me, so I think I'm the only cell left. So I got to build everything that I can because I got to keep this body alive, and that's where tumors start happening, right?
Yeah.
And so like as soon as we put a fence around our property and said, "Get out, this is my property,"
Fine.
metaphorically speaking, that's the initial point of cancer starting. You know,
Exactly. It's like it's basically putting a blockade as opposed to doing the work to prevent it from coming in.
right?
It's like, all right, I'm just going to put this concrete wall and then I'm just going to lay down and not do anything. Or you can do the work to build the concrete wall yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you hit it because, I talk about this all the time, with the combination, the plant medicine, the yoga, the meditation, it's all this recipe to construct basically a fortress, of a body to where, you're, it's not that like, I don't want to say that I don't get sick or anything like that. I have you're not becoming a superhero, but yeah, you take away the restriction of your body and allow yourself to flow more. And if you're flowing, everything is going to be flowing. You're not going to have stagnant energy. And I personally believe that's when sicknesses happen, is when energy becomes stagnant, whether it's in our body, whether it's because we're not working out, whether it's because we're not eating right, or we've stopped our yoga, we've done this or that. But as soon as we start to become stagnant with anything, with our diet, with our energy, with our breath, with our physical work, I think it gives time. That's when these sicknesses, mental or physical, can become, because we're not moving.
Right.
And that's like go run. I just mean moving,
yes,
energetically, moving our mind, moving our thoughts, moving our energy. And yeah, maybe that means even if you could sit there and meditate and move your energy, and that's fine. It doesn't mean you've got to go on a 2-hour run or do crazy, I can't, I'm not flexible, I can't, that's what you hear a lot with the yoga, the
right.
excuse, I'm flexible, and it's like
I'm too dirty to take a shower. It's like, no, you're not.
exactly,
That's fine. You'll be all right.
It's like, there's a saying too, that's what the saying is: every day you need to meditate for 5 minutes. If you don't have time, meditate for an hour. And it's perfect.
I love that.
Because it's like, yeah, if you don't think you have time to meditate for 5 minutes in a day, then yeah, you need to do a lot more meditation, because you've got to figure out how to make that time, because it's real. That's the reality though, is that the majority of people, they 5 minutes of meditation in their day, and no way, no way their day is, they're not going to be able to do this will miss that. And it's not saying that everyone needs to, I'm not running a Timothy Leary tune in, turn on, drop out. But more just, I think as a whole, we definitely need to slow down a little bit, the society. And I think we're in that period where we're getting closer to that 1%. You can feel the movement happening,
right.
You feel you feel it. It's kind of, it seems to be kind of 3 steps what is it? One step forward, two
Two
steps
steps
back.
back. Yep.
That's kind of how it's been with this, but now it seems to be maybe two steps forward, one back.
Yep. Making some good
Doing a little
progress.
bit more forward than back, and it feels good. I personally, the way that I'm going about this mission and journey with my business and the microdosing, I'm not even taking into account the status or any of the legalization at all, and for that reason I came to Mexico, because I didn't want to have to do any hiding or sneaking around, because I saw how profound this medicine was. I knew that I needed to go somewhere where I could shout at the top of a roof about microdosing, and I could walk into doctors' offices, and like you said, now there's 8 doctors in Mexico, and 5 out of those 8 doctors started using my blend because I literally walked into the front door of the doctor's office and said, "Hey, I'm Justin. I've got, a psilocybin mushroom microdose product that I've, experimented and tested. It's properly dosed. All the mushrooms are cultivated in California." And they were, I had doctors literally tell me, "I'm with a patient right now, but if you give me 5 minutes, I'll be right out to talk with you."
Damn.
I mean, in the US, to even get an appointment to talk with the doctor at all, generally you're paying, or you have to make an appointment weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
I never imagined, and I've never been received with so much openness and willingness to work with this medicine, and a mutual understanding of the benefits. It's meeting people that are medical professionals that went to medical school, that are thanking me because they've been looking for a source that's properly dosed, and not just someone saying, "Oh yeah, I've got, this chocolate bar. I think it's this amount or that," where, the medical community are looking, and they are wanting to work with this, and they do see it. And I truly believe, even in the United States, they're just not willing. It's not, you can't sneak around the system in the US. These doctors, they've spent 20 years of their life to have this, to get their license. And I don't blame them. I'm not wanting them to risk their career and their license for this.
Right.
But there needs to be a middle ground where we can, talk about the benefits and promote it and educate, and truly educate, but with real facts and real studies and numbers. And for me, that's what drew me to psilocybin and mushrooms, because this is something that's working on a physiological level. Like, this is there's real benefits, and we're able to study and see the benefits on like a scientific scale.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to happen if we want something like this to be able to become accessible. We need studies, we need numbers. And as much people, numbers this, numbers that, we need to know what dosage of medicine is curing people that have been diagnosed with depression.
Right.
What dosage is helping people that have been diagnosed with anxiety, diagnosed with diabetes. I mean, this goes more than mental. This goes into physical ailments too.
Right. Well, I think you made a really good point about the Western doctors. It's like, we'll get to this later, but my mom's battling cancer right now. And, this is the first time I've had a big dramatic medical experience. My dad passed away a number of years ago, but it wasn't, a long-term thing. But, so my mom's had cancer now. We found it in February. So it's been about, 8 months or so.
Okay.
And just hearing doctors not even speak to you, don't even want to look at you sometimes when they're delivering the information, that only the information that they can, right? And so what we used to call bedside manner is completely gone now, because especially in the West, people are sue happy, so people get sued left and right. So I can like you were saying, I can understand doctors' apprehensions for wanting to convey information that might be sensitive. But we're to the point now where doctors are so afraid to even look at a patient, let alone touch a patient. So offering some kind of experimental medicines, it's like don't even get started with that, because our Western medicine system is all fucked up anyways. But I think that the more regular usage of this, especially in places like Mexico, which is, a huge population of people that have just a bit more open-mindedness about medicines, we're finally finding things that can help us kind of cure shit, right? With plant
Yeah,
medicines,
yeah.
and, in a way, I don't know if doctors really understand this, but there's got to be something playing in the psyche of the doctors that just constantly hand out these lifetime prescriptions, knowing that they're not going to help this person. They're not going to cure this
Oh,
person. Yeah. If anything, it's
at all.
adding more side effects. Most of the
It's adding.
antidepressant and anxiety medicine out there adds weight to our body because it shuts our
Oh,
metabolism down, and then,
100.
and when people don't feel comfortable with their body, that causes depression and anxiety,
The
and so you're
cycle that never ends,
right,
and then they get prescribed something else because they're not feeling good. So now they're on a mood, and then next thing you know, they're on 10 medicines.
right. It's like, yeah, this huge cocktail of medicines that you don't even realize how you're on that. But now we're
Right.
finally coming up to these compounds that, like with Ibogaine, for example. Ibogaine has like what, 55% success rate with curing people from opiate
Huge,
addictions. Yeah, that's
huge.
huge. The best we have in the States is 22%. And that's very iffy at best. And that's with a lot of
And
other drugs being
that's
introduced to
at
you,
best. That's
right?
at best.
Yeah, you have 2, 3, sessions with Ibogaine, and the people that I've talked to and the people I've listened to they say that they can feel the spirit of that medicine prying the addiction away from their individual cells, right? And
Mm.
that's like a universal story that a lot of people have said, and that's a beautiful experience, and that's not something you have to take every single day. You're not constantly having to be on methadone or Suboxone or something like that. You're
Yeah.
completely done with opiates, and that's I think that's actually kind of scary to the mass medical system, because we're not set up to have
Terrifying.
cures, you
It's
know.
terrifying.
Yeah.
All of this, for me, I'm not worried people, oh, you're doing what in Mexico? Aren't you worried about the cartel? I'm like, I'm not worried about what I'm more worried about than anything is the United States government,
Yep.
the pharmaceuticals shutting this kind of stuff down. And yeah, like you said, like, yeah, we're not supposed to have cures for these things. We're not, and not only that, but the Western system is set up to actually provide medicine to keep people sick.
Right.
So not only do we don't have cures, but we actually, the medicine that we're giving people that's maybe going to cure them is never curing them, and it's making them sicker. And it's like you said, these doctors, they can't even look patients in the face. And the reality is that there's so much fear, I think, that's been put into the Western medical system, that there could be a doctor that in his head he could know that he could even have a case where someone cured something with mushrooms, but he can't even say that. You're not even allowed to say, well, so even if there's medical doctors that, and there are, I'm sure, that know the power of these mushrooms, and then I'm not even talking about just psilocybin, but just natural mushrooms that can cure and heal. I mean, there's cases and stories, for example, Paul Stamets,
Oh, yes.
the infamous story of his mom, and she was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, 6 to 8 months left, and basically in that moment he took her off of all of her chemo medication, all of it, and said, okay, well, if 6 to 8 months, what's the point?
Right.
Why are you going to be in pain? And loaded her with turkey tail mushrooms, only turkey tail mushrooms. Like 8 to 10 years later, she was cancer free.
Wow.
After she was, it was a 6 to 8 month thing. And
wow.
And so that was like, that was his motivation. That's like his story. And for me, hearing that, it's like, okay, so that was enough to motivate me to look into it more.
Mm-hmm.
I had been prescribed, I was one of those patients that before I knew it, I was on a mix of 8 different medications for anxiety, depression, sleep, because this isn't working, mood, everything. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I don't want to be on this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get off. And then you try and it's, oh, okay, whoa.
It's almost suicidal when you get off that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not only that, but you're physically, I had seizures trying to come off of this stuff. And lo and behold, the doctor, oh yeah, that's a side effect. And it's so it's not even strange, and this is, so for me, it was like, okay, my mission was to get off of this stuff. I didn't think it was possible, so I'm experimenting with all this stuff. After about 6 to 8 months of taking this blend that I have now, this 11 ingredient blend of mushrooms and superfoods, you know, I had completely gotten off of all of my pharmaceutical medication that I'd been trying for years. And even so, you know, the first year that I had experimented with microdosing, I was not able to get off of all these medications until I basically dialed in this mix, this blend. And I don't even think I could tell you 100% physiologically, scientifically, what this blend is doing different than, you know, if you were to take one of these ingredients out. But what I can tell you is that the success that I had personally was enough for me to have friends and family ask me, what are you doing?
Wow.
What is going on? What did you go and did you do a retreat? You know, it was like, it was that obvious that friends were asking. And I started basically saying, no, not at all. But I came up with this blend of medicinal mushrooms, and there's 3 superfoods and 8 mushrooms basically in the blend. And naturally, friends of mine, you know, and I'm in a very like-minded community, and well, I would love to try it. You know, I would love it. Let me try, and started giving out samples here and there, and every single one of them came back, and this is incredible. I'm not sure what you've come up with, but you're right. Like this is change. This is an incredibly profound healing that's happening with me, and it's been a week, you know, and it was just this nonstop from my friends of, I've been trying to get off of my anti-anxiety medication for 4 years. And now after 3 weeks of this blend, I'm completely off and I feel great. Or, you know, I haven't drank alcohol since I started, and I didn't even want to try to quit alcohol, you know, and just things that are coming to me where I'm very quickly realizing the potential of this, you know, and not only that, but when you have someone come to you and tell you that a blend of natural medicines, natural herbs, mushrooms that you've created has changed their life dramatically. People, you know, and it was just pretty obvious that it was a route that I needed to explore. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go with this and take it further. Didn't have any idea what I was doing. You know, I was like, all right, well, I don't really know what to do, how this looks to start this, but I guess, yeah, I'll start. You know, I was still in cannabis industry, you know, still full time in the cannabis industry, but growing mushrooms on the side, and, you know, starting my mushroom lab, and quickly, you know, it just started to evolve, and I came to Mexico for vacation.
Yeah.
You know, and now I ended up
Haven't
here.
left.
Yeah, you know, I came here for vacation, and this was in the very, very beginning of the business. You know, I think I had just came up with the business name, but I had people asking me naturally. When you travel, people generally ask you, oh, what do you do? You know, how you're traveling, you know, and so in that moment, I basically decided to switch. I was like, I'm not in cannabis anymore. I'm in mushrooms. Mushrooms are I'm healing with mushrooms. And until I kind of committed to that full time, I wasn't seeing the outside benefits. So it was like the mushrooms were waiting for me to commit fully to them before they kind of opened up. And it was in that moment where it was just like everything changed. I mean, I committed to that, came here, and started giving people samples, you know, here, you can try it. And before I left, you know, I was here for a month, and I brought, I think, 200 capsules, which is not a lot at all. You know, now I'm selling 300 to 500 capsules a day.
Good for you.
You know,
hell yeah.
So it was very much, you know, but everyone that I gave capsules to came back to me to try to, you know, procure a full treatment or some, you know, some sort of a much more than just a few capsules. And in that, I had a bufo ceremony, 5-MeO DMT ceremony that, you know, at the end, towards the end of this trip. And in that ceremony, it was just the clearest message in the world that I needed to be back in Mexico, and that I was I was here spreading the mushroom medicine in Mexico, and that these doctors needed me, and that I was going to be fully supported the whole way, and flew back to the US, sold everything in my house, sold 200 house plants that I had. I had a house plant industry. Sold my brand new truck that I had bought, exchanged it for a 2007 Toyota Sequoia.
Okay.
My car up with my 110-pound Rottweiler and drove to Mexico, drove to Tulum.
Wow.
Did a 5-week road trip through Mexico, basically launching the business and the brand, and was going door to door to rehab facilities, retreat centers, holistic doctors.
So
And
really guerrilla marketing, just out there
really guerrilla
pounding the feet.
marketing. Yeah, but at the same time doing it very professionally. And I was, I printed brochures, and I was walking into doctors' offices. I wasn't, a lot of people are like, you just went to the Max, were you just on the beach selling mushrooms? Like, not at all. There are people that are doing that. They don't last very long here.
Yeah.
My main thing coming here was keeping it medicinal. Keep it this way, keep it medicinal. And a lady heard me in Cabo San Lucas on the beach explaining to someone that was wanting to get high from my product that it was not a product to get high. I was explaining the microdosing and the benefits, and that if you're trying to get high, this defeats the purpose, and that's not what this medicine is. And at the end of the conversation, I hear a voice, an elderly woman, sorry to, eavesdrop, but I overheard you talking about mushrooms, and, I'm a neuropsychologist, and I own a cognitive rehab facility in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and I work with CBD and alternative medicines, and I've been looking for a microdose product for the last 2 years to use for my patients. I would love to collaborate with you in whatever way possible. When you get to Puerto Vallarta on your trip, can you please come and see me and chat? I want to do whatever I can to help you with this. And, so we get to Puerto Vallarta and meet with her, and this, Mimi Priestley, she has a cognitive rehab facility called Pasos Adelante in Puerto Vallarta. Incredible woman. She was the first basically doctor to take on this medicine, and she's, however many bottles you have ready, I want them all right now.
Wow.
She knew I was on this road trip, and she really helped me out, connected me with 6 of the 8 doctors that are using the capsules right now, has brought me into expos, plant, alternative medicine expos in Puerto Vallarta. And she's using this to treat a range of issues, going from stroke recoveries, epileptic seizure patients, traumatic brain injury recovery,
wow,
cancer patients, adolescents with autism, high functioning autism. So she's using this she's going on a more, using it to heal things, to heal sicknesses, not, obviously for mental and emotional issues, but her route was more, no, this is a cognitive rehab tool. And she has found enormous success in the last 1.5 years with this blend to treat basically any and all cognitive issues, from Alzheimer's, like I said, stroke recovery, epilepsy, traumatic brain injury, but more than any of that, it's autism and high functioning autistic patients that are antisocial, or completely antisocial, but more than that are no, I don't want to say mean, but yeah, they're not, they don't welcome people into their social circle at all. Right. It's the kind of people that if you are in there, you bump into them, they're angry. And she's obviously using it and on her own protocol and diagnosis. What I mean? She's a neuropsychologist. She works with a team of psychiatrists and psychologists. But she's even using it with adolescents that have ADHD.
Wow.
Instead of the Adderall and Ritalin, meth, basically, that kids are being prescribed.
Totally.
And of course, mushrooms in kids, like that's a parent, that's a big taboo right there, is to try to get parents to agree to something like that.
Right.
But that's the reality, is that microdosing can be used for pretty much everyone. It's not, it's for the doctor, it's for the lawyer, it's for the yogi, it's for the police officer. It's not just for someone that's on this spiritual path. And that's, what I've seen more than anything of these doctors in Mexico, and the diverse potential of this medicine, the mushrooms, and what they're able to heal and to cure.
Yeah.
I'll even go as far as saying cure.
Right. And to your point about the, some people are very, like, I'm only going to do things that are legal. I will not touch anything illegal. So up in Washington about a year ago, plant medicines were finally decriminalized. And there's a woman that I've had on my podcast a couple of times. Her name's Leah Russell, and she was one of the big people behind the decriminalization of mushrooms in this area. And but so she started two nonprofits. One's called the Ethneo Society of Washington, and it caters towards people that would more like like you and I, like definitely all about plant medicines, about the journey, about all that stuff. So their websites like Alex Gray, Fractal Art, all this stuff like catering towards people that know already about it. And then she started another company called the Adapt Society of Washington, and that one is geared more towards people that are law abiding and that just like things need to be legal. So that their website's a lot of the scientific backing. It's very like business oriented and all this stuff. And even though she's creating a lot of work for herself, trying to put on these two images, she's also, through this work, she's catering to both sides of the coin, right? Because everybody would benefit from this medicine, so it's presenting the package in the way that people can ingest it, so that they can feel confident in the information that they have, right? And so like I think that's a big thing, is like you were saying, police officers, lawyers, doctors, kids, right? There's so many benefits for this medicine. We're slowly chipping away at the tabooness of the macro dosing. And when kind of like you mentioned Timothy Leary earlier, Timothy Leary, he got a little crazy with his evangelicalness and be like, everybody needs acid, let's all get fucking, and that scared a lot of people. And it kind of maybe put us back a little bit, but we're at a place now where I think the consciousness is a little more understanding. We're all searching for something that is going to make us feel better. And you mentioned that earlier. It's like, we're all trying to find the best way to make ourselves happy, to make our families happy, to let us feel safe. And when we can start to find these compounds that really accompany that mission, then why get in the way of that?
And it's just to touch base. I think it's huge, the whole to cater to both sides, because that's the biggest thing, is getting the law abiding, because we can flip the one side and we can get them all on board. And like I said, all my friends, I didn't even have to do anything to get them on board, and like that, and that's great. But it's the law abiding. It's the baby boomer generation that are, what is the, and like, those are the people that, as much as, you don't want to maybe, I don't know, align yourselves with, that's the group that's going to have the biggest impact, though, because those are the ones that are like, whoa, all these people, they would have never done any of this, and now they're potentially thinking about doing it. So it must be more than just a spiritual woo-woo, kind of myth, or like, if you believe it enough, it'll work, and where, and I try with my Instagram to do that. I try to cater to everyone. And basically, like, if you see my Instagram, it's mainly just, it's facts, it's studies, it's information, it's Newsweek articles, it's Times Magazine articles, it's basically just education and information that's right in your face, that you can't deny. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you're law abiding or not. You can't deny a Johns Hopkins $50 million study that has said that 85% of people that took psilocybin have quit drinking.
Right.
And like my dad, for example, falls into this generation that it doesn't matter what or how well something works. If a doctor doesn't say and give it to him, nope. But then on the other hand, it doesn't matter how detrimental to his health it is. If a doctor says take it, he takes it.
Right. You mentioned something earlier about with just now with drinking and people being able to quit drinking with psilocybin. I don't know, this might be common knowledge, but the so Bill W, who started the AA program back in the 40s and 50s. So when he was still developing the AA program, his biggest medicine that he was utilizing was LSD. And he was a
Okay.
big proponent for utilizing LSD to get people to quit drinking. And one of the bases behind his research with this is that and this was macro dosing, not
Yeah.
microdosing. And
Yeah.
but what he found is it gave people that moment of clarity, that moment of understanding that there's something bigger out there for them to live for. That's not just drinking their depression away or killing themselves. There's like a family, there's a reason, there's a higher power. But it induced that state of consciousness to that to know that there was something bigger out there. But then, LSD went its route and it became illegal, so he had to step away from it. But a lot of the success that AA had in the very beginning was based off people macro dosing with LSD. And
See.
so just to hear that that's being looked at
Yeah.
again to come back into the forefront, because we don't know, we don't know what these compounds can help with.
Exactly.
I had a guy on my podcast a while back, Darren McRae, episode number 45, but he found success macro dosing with psilocybin to manage his Parkinson's symptoms. So
Ah,
this guy
incredible.
he had Parkinson's so bad he couldn't breathe, he couldn't take a deep breath.
Wow.
Self-admittedly, when we talked on the podcast, he would say that after he used the bathroom, he'd have to take a full shower because of how much shaking that he would have, right? And so
Wow.
one day he was actually he's from Spokane, Washington. He had a cannabis company called Spokannabis, and he was
Okay.
having a party for one of his holiday party for his employees, and he brought a bunch of mushrooms around so everybody could have a good time. He said he ended up taking 3.5 grams, so an eighth of mushrooms, and he said once they started to kick in, he took a full, deep, unlabored breath. And he said it was
Wow.
the first full breath he'd taken in probably 5 years. And
But
so for him, he accidentally stumbled upon this thing that helps him now manage his Parkinson's symptoms. So
wow.
I think he said about 3 to 5 times a day, he takes anywhere from 3.5 to 5 grams of mushrooms. So those are big doses of mushrooms.
3 to 5 times a day
3 to 5 times a day, he says he
per
takes
day.
per day. And he's been doing it now for, I think, 15 years. And
Wow.
he's able to like have full conversations. He's able to like hold. He's has a YouTube channel. He's a big conservationist. He's got this big thing about trees and how,
Oh,
but he's able to do the work that he was put on this earth to do, unencumbered by the Parkinson's because of the
with macro doses.
macro dosing mushrooms. And
Wow.
it's
So he's fully functional basically, but in under the influence of macro doses of psilocybin.
yep,
But
yep. And
that's what so that oh that's incredible.
it's incredible.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
and like he's got videos on his YouTube channel that show him, before ingesting mushrooms, and you can see
Yeah.
how movable he is, and then watching him eat the mushrooms, and then time lapse, 15, 20 minutes after they kick in, his hand goes very stable. And one of his things that he shows is that him trying to smoke a pipe, with before the mushrooms, and he can't even get the flame to the pipe, but after
Oh,
the mushrooms kick in, he can calmly get that flame to the pipe and smoke and just
incredible.
be a functional human being in this society. And, so things like that. I mean, like we've had luck with, like you were saying, stroke, cancer, epilepsy, depression, anxiety. Like there's a laundry list of things we already know that these compounds are helping us with. But what do we not know? How do we not know? And I think you said something too about commitment. Like when we commit to the medicine that we're taking, and we create that relationship, then it deepens the ability for that medicine to do the work that it needs to do, because then the intention is set, it understands the intention, and it understands the journey that it's trying to help you on. you
Oh,
know
100%.
and that, like, with that means, to me, mushrooms are smart, right? They're very brilliant, and so when we're ingesting this consciousness into our body, it's going to start working with our physiology and finding out, like, okay, what do you need me to do? Yes,
Yeah.
I can increase your
That's
consciousness.
helpful.
Yes, I can
Yeah.
decrease your depression. But what else do you want to do? Is there inflammation in
Exactly.
your left knee that I can help with? Cool. I'm going to make my way down there and get that inflammation out for you. And that's that beautiful relationship. And then, we step into this together with this plant medicine. And then, we also feel more connected to humanity, to nature, to the world. And then there's like a more altruistic kind of way of presenting yourself to this world. You know, like one
Yeah.
of the things for me, like I had to step away from my corporate work when I started microdosing and macrodosing because I knew how toxic it was then. I knew
It's
how bad it was for me and I didn't think I could make an impact on it. So I decided to step away from my, comfortable six-figure income and
yeah.
insurance and all the check boxes that we know Western
Yeah.
fucking males will look for, and
Yep.
entering into an energetic world where, it's not as regular, it's not as structured, but I'm so much more happier and I feel like I have a place now. And I feel like the medicines that I'm working with feel like they have a place that they can start to work with me in a deeper level now too.
Yeah. And that the gratitude, like the appreciation that you see, and like it just, like I said, for me, yeah. I mean, if someone comes to me and tells me that their life has been dramatically changed from something that I've done or given or created, even if it's one person that, come to me like, you have changed my life, like that's enough for me to
Mm.
keep going with what I'm doing. And that is why I keep doing it, because and until I don't continue to see that this is dramatically impacting people's lives, I have no intention to slow down on this mission, and like you said, it's incredible. And yeah, it's especially in the beginning, it's kind of that whole, you commit, it's kind of leaving one world, committing to another, but you're committing to something that, if you truly are committing to it and trusting in it, there's so much support from the energy within this type of work that, we're supported and we're seen, and we're supporting each other. And I think, if you're committed to this type of work, whether it's plant medicine or yoga or energy or any or all of the above, there's a level of understanding and just, I guess, understanding that it's forever. It's a
Mm.
forever journey too. And that it's, but it's exciting, because it's like you said, what else? What now?
Right.
What's more? Like, I started this journey 5 years ago to get off my antidepressants and anti-anxieties. That happened 4 years ago. So that happened, and then it's like, oh, okay. And it doesn't stop. It's not like you do one thing, okay, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're able to continue the relationship, and I've yet to see the limits,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yep.
And that's what excites me more than anything, is that, I've had a fair share of experience in this world, and I feel like I'm the very bottom of the rope, looking up at this, but it comes so natural. And I think once you've started, it's more of just, you just go with it. And,
Mm-hmm.
for me with the microdosing, as long as I can continue to inform people and educate people and talk openly about it, and, all I like to do is just let people know of how amazing and awesome it is, really.
Yep.
When you can talk with the kind of passion, when you truly believe in something, it's pretty contagious, you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter who you are, anyone that's truly passionate about something, when you hear them speak about it, it draws you in,
Yes.
and I'm passionate about something because it's changed my life on a huge scale. And like I said, I was expecting 100% that I was going to need professional, medical treatment to be able to come off of all the prescription drugs, and or that it would just never would happen.
Right.
It's kind of the whole case of, if I did that, then man, let's go.
Hell yeah. And I think, what I'm really interested to see is the long-term effects of what this support and this intuition and this intention really does. Because if we're seeing these beautiful effects so far on these mainstream things that the medical industry has had the hardest time trying to get their handle on for the long time, and we're starting to see, a lot of success with these symptoms, the deeper the support and the deeper the respect for this medicine that, and the more people that utilize it and find the deepness of that respect, what is that going to unlock with the medicine? Once it understands that we fully are vested into this medicine and we respect it and we honor it, and we cherish it, and we love the information, we love the relationship, what else is going to unfurl with us as our consciousness becomes ready to accept and understand that? It's like, oh, cool. All right. So the mass is here now. Let's unlock this thing now. And then all of a sudden this new thing happens with these mushrooms, and it's like, holy Jesus Christ, and that's, we can grow these things in our backyard. These are things that are like, they're not, they don't have to be these taboo things that we've decided, and we can get a whole nother conversation of how a lot of this stuff became taboo, the cannabis industry, the psilocybin, it's hallucinogenics. But, the fact that we're finally digging our way out of this bullshit, from the 90s forward, we're finally getting to a place to where, like you were saying, reputable, places like University of Michigan is doing an intense study on endogenous DMT, understanding how it's beautiful. So they're doing a study now where, because we have, endogenous DMT is the DMT that we create within our bodies. It's rumored to be, kind of centered in the pineal gland. And a lot of the past information that we've had was that DMT helps us with our dream state, right? But if they only found the tracest amounts of DMT in our system at any point in time. And so what they're finding now through this study in University of Michigan is that DMT levels in our body are equivalent, just to a lower level, but equivalent ratio-wise to like serotonin, dopamine, all these brain chemicals that are on a regular basis. But what they're understanding is that DMT metabolizes super quickly, so that's why they can't find it in our bloodstream all the time. So now some of the hypotheses they're coming up with this, and this is what amazes and really intrigues me, is that what they're thinking now is that the DMT in our system is utilized on a regular basis to decode and to help our bodies filter out the world that we don't understand and give us what the information is that we do understand. Like, this is my phone, this is a pen. I don't see the spirits that are flying around out there because my body and consciousness doesn't understand that. So the endogenous DMT filters that shit out. And then, but when we enter into our hallucinogenic states, when we take macro doses, it messes with that endogenous DMT and it kind of pushes that out of the way. So then we can really, truly see the real world as it truly is, unfiltered. That fucking blows me away to think that, like,
way to look at it like that, so that it's not that. So most people think when you trip, you're seeing basically like that's. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it, but it's almost like reverse of what people think. Like what we see when we're tripping is actually
the reality of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's everything. But our bodies naturally already have a filter because it'd be too much for people to handle.
Exactly. We'd be in fight or flight all the time because we wouldn't be able to comprehend what's going on. But the fucked up thing is, I mean, pretty much we're all in fight or flight all the time now. The way our society's set up, our parasympathetic nervous system is not ever kicking in until we sleep, and maybe and that happens, So
for some people, it's wild what we've come to now with the fight or flight, and over the last couple of years, especially, the whole other pandemia and
oh yeah
it's been a trip. I mean, I think it's been the best thing that could happen for this movement of medicine and whatnot, and I mean, I just hope it keeps moving forward, but with the kind of the caution and intention that it seems to have, as opposed to just corporations coming in and taking complete control.
I think that's one of those things we got to watch out for with the whole legalization versus decriminalization you were talking about earlier.
Like you said, at the same time, for me, the more people, the better. I mean, I don't think there's anyone that wouldn't benefit from this type of a treatment. I truly don't believe that there's someone that would be worse off from this type of a treatment. And not only that, but like you said, the 1%, I mean, I just can't even imagine what would come if we could switch on to even just microdosing,
Mm-hmm. So where's your journey taking you now? What's the next step for you in this beautiful journey you got?
I mean, right now I'm in Tulum. I actually just bought a house here with my girlfriend in the last 6 months or so.
Oh yeah.
but it's not my forever home. I mean, my plan right now is actually to take this and try to set up a market in as many places as I can, so I have the mushroom lab. All the mushrooms are grown in California in a lab in Humboldt County. And I've got someone that takes care of production and distribution for me in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here in Mexico doing more of the working with doctors and, going a bit more open and legit route. And I mean, right now I'm taking it day by day. I'm obviously watching the status of things in the US with legalization and decriminalization, but I'm, networking, connecting with more and more doctors every day down here, reaching out, doing talks, putting, events, this Friday I have I'm doing a talk for 40 senior citizens.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Got turned on to this because one of their friends got prescribed my medicine from a doctor here in Playa del Carmen in Quintana Roo for early onset Alzheimer's, for basically dementia type symptoms, and brought a brochure and showed a brochure to her friend, and her friend reached out to me and was like, I need you to come and give a talk. I have so many friends here that all need to hear all about this medicine, but we have no way to inform them. And setting up, and we'll go and talk to them and kind of give a little informational, educational speech. And then, I'm actually going to Costa Rica for a few weeks here in next week to go meet with a friend of mine down there that has, he's got like an agriculture, eco farm, sustainable eco farm and surf camp down there. So I'm actually going to go down there and basically try to open up the market in Costa Rica.
Yes, please do, man. Please do.
Oh yeah, just kind of keep traveling as much as I can. And, but at the same time, basically now everywhere I travel is to basically bring the medicine and kind of open up markets there. And I'm trying to pick, spiritual hotspots, if you will, places that are a little bit more open to this. And yeah, right now my mission is just to educate and get this medicine into the hands of as many people that truly want it. And, I'm not here to convince people that don't want it, that they need it, so I'm not the kind of person at all. If someone tells me that they don't want it or they don't believe in it, that's the end of the conversation for me. That's fine with me. I don't take offense to it, but I'm not trying to convince people, I'm just trying to offer it, offer access and offer knowledge and experience and just telling people what I've seen and, stories. And, I'm not a doctor. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell people I'm curing them at all. I just have come up with this blend that over the last 2 years, I have seen from me and from everyone that's used it and the feedback that I've gotten, that it's obviously it's working. It's a blend that's working on a huge scale, a huge degree of mental and physical illnesses. And for me, I couldn't feel any better about it. And the results that I've seen, and like, until I see other results, I'm going to keep going forward and maybe in 2 or 3 years, I'll have a bigger voice in it, and, won't have to hide in Mexico.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, brother, I'm honored to be part of this journey with you and give you a platform, man.
This is great. Let's stay connected. I have hours and hours and hours of content to talk about too. So we can.
Yes, I have a feeling that we're going to revisit this conversation. I would love to be a continued platform for you to spread your message. I wholeheartedly believe in what you're doing. I'm going to try to find a way to maybe get some of your medicine to my area to see if how it works with me.
Where are you located, actually?
In Washington, in the Seattle area. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Perfect. Well, yeah, so we're based in Northern California in terms of, everything in the States. So yeah, we can absolutely make that happen. And then, yeah, like I said, I've got my Instagram, and the Instagram basically is just me, all day in and day out. I'm just scouring the internet for new studies, new research, new articles, new universities that are holding studies. I'm posting information about studies that are open to the public for people to actually be able to participate if they want. So, people can find an immense source of data, of research, of information, education through my Instagram and my website.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very accessible. People reach out on Instagram, I'll be responding personally within 10 minutes. I've committed fully, wholeheartedly, and 100% to this mission, in every form and way possible. So,
Yeah.
I'm never not working, but at the same time, I'm never working,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And
So
I'll honestly say this, any of the listeners out there, when somebody offers their information, take them up on it, because that is a genuine, wholehearted offer.
yeah,
And I've perused your Instagram, and it's such good information, man. And it's the beauty is it's non-biased information. It's
it's
coming from
non-biased. All of it is non-biased. And
yeah.
that was my biggest intention. My first Instagram was shut down by Instagram about a year ago.
Mm,
And from then I was just information, that's it. You will never see a post of me trying to sell
right.
any product. You're never going to see anything, maybe I'll put something, when we hit 7,000, 8,000, every 1,000 followers, I'll do a promotion where, we'll have discounts. But the point of my page and my mission is education, is inform, is educate, is just spread this knowledge.
Hell yeah.
People need to know what this medicine is doing. And you know, I'm here and I'm willing and honored to be able to serve the community with this information and medicine.
Well, I'm deeply grateful for your commitment, my friend, and I'm honored to talk with you. Can't wait to have you back and see what else you're up to in this world, my friend.
I appreciate it, and sending love and energy for you and your family right now, and hope everything flows smoothly with that.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that
Yeah,
love. All right, man.
yeah.
We'll see you next time.
All right, much love, Adam.
Much
Safe
love.
travels. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for spending time with Justin and I. Please check out the show notes for any links to Justin, to his website, or to the products that he is utilizing. And please like and subscribe to the podcast. Send it out to your friends. Good ways to get this information out there. Obeisance and love. We'll see you next time.